Okay, guys, we are back. It's another reading from Cascadia Volume 1. We are into Part 2, The Spring. And this chapter is the second chapter from that part, titled Lich King. And it is set in March 2003. And in this chapter, it's the clique is going to meet at Fulbright's house to play Dungeons and Dragons. And so you get an insider kind of fly on the wall perspective on the click as they arrive for this Dungeons and Dragons session. Starting off with Fulbright, Jonathan, and Nicole, and then with Ken, Hamid, and eventually Will arriving. And they're going to talk about the context and what they're doing at school and events that are happening in the broader March 2003 setting. So get ready, guys, for Lich King. After school on Friday, the 21st of March, Florence Whitby, Rachel's mom, picked up Rachel, Elizabeth Pellew, Victoria Moore, Jessica Vanderbilt, Samantha Pollitt, and me in her SUV and drove us down to Lindsay Copeland Park where we played mini golf. It was Rachel's 18th birthday. Jessica, whose parents were so wealthy they made Ken Payton and even Julia Sunderland look cheap, didn't say anything to me the entire time, so I mainly listened to Rachel and Victoria talk about biology, a class they had together but I didn't, unlike geography, which I took with Victoria, and history, which I had with Beth, and English, which I had with Rachel, and all of which I did like. Samantha chatted with me about the show, which I told her had been amazing. Beth and Jess mainly talked about 90210, which they religiously rewatched on DVD. Jessica is the most senior goldfisher after Kimberly Dean, and I know they want to recruit Elizabeth away from the Dolphin Dream Girls, but can't because she's better than them. They'd given up on Samantha Pollitt and Vicky Moore years ago. So, of course, Rachel won mini golf since apparently the only other people who could putt was Victoria Moore. Even Beth beat me with some kind of transmogrified precision from years of Rainbow Six, if not Lee Carvalho's putting challenge. So the real reward was beating Jessica, who was in last place, and was annoyed at Sam, who was just happy to have beaten her. Years of Shockwave Flash micro golf experience having sharpened Samantha's skills. Afterwards, Philip Whitby picked us up, and we all went to dinner at Perseid, a fancy Greek restaurant downtown. I chatted with Philip about energy alternatives because he'll never forgive the liberal technocrats for running Gates in 1985 and ignoring geothermal energy development that only the Greens had then supported, and thank God they'd gotten into power. While Rachel and Beth and Jessica conspired over prospective post-graduation schools, and after that, Florence dropped Sam at her car, and she drove V Moore and Jessica to Jessica's parents' enormous house, where I'm pretty sure they were doing drugs, and Phil left Rachel and me at my parents' and drove Beth home to Wellington. Rachel slept over, so we stayed up late watching 12 Monkeys, her fingers playing with my hair as Brad Pitt struggled in an asylum with insane Bruce Willis, and then we watched Final Fantasy The Spirits Within, which was Rachel's favorite movie. She told me her parents got her an advanced Rubik's Cube set and a gorgeous floral dress for graduation. Rachel split the leftover cheesecake she'd had at dinner, and I siphoned some of the flaming scotch Hamid had given me for winning Spicer's Combat Evolved tournament hosted at his house during spring break a year ago now, which I was saving for graduation, and made out with Rachel, who dragged me upstairs, and we fell asleep in my bedroom. Saturday morning breakfast was cereal, oranges, and hard-boiled eggs with Himalayan salt and ground pepper, and Mom insisted on making waffles for us, which were delicious and lathered with butter, Quebec maple syrup, and strawberries and cream. Rachel kissed me as she left and took the bus to her AM shift at Mackinder Mall. I played with Fulbrightopia all morning. I'd built the city up to a scale so huge the downtown core now had its own World Trade Center, and there was an Air Force base building secretly on the city outskirts, ultimately to protect virtual airspace over digital environs. And amongst that valley of pixelated glass skyscrapers and pristine roadways between the ever-flowing fountains in Central Park, there was a giant golden statue built in tribute to my benevolent rule. SimCity 4, however, was the new thing, and my Emule disk image of that was no doubt nearing completion. Maybe it was time to start forming the terrain on Fulbrightopia 2. There were supposed to be programs that could convert cities from one game to another. I'd pirated plenty of stuff, and my computer was, of course, packed with formidable titles, including, besides Valhalla and SimCity 3, Half-Life, Neverwinter Nights, Operation Flashpoint, Quake 3, Diablo 2, Tribes 2, Medal of Honor, Warcraft 3, America's Army Online, the latter a free game actually produced by the U.S. Department of Defense based on the Unreal Engine. After lunch, Matt Pello came online and we played Valhalla with Taylor and Ryan for a couple hours until Taylor left to go snowboarding and Ryan went to work. Matt said he should practice Counter Strike, which I didn't want to play, and anyway I had homework to do. Around 3 p.m., Mom and Dad departed for reservations they had with Venice and Grandma Janice downtown at Yanaki Sushi, and I knew they only went there when it was a big deal. Maybe Venice got into Cambridge or met a boyfriend, I wondered. So I was sitting home alone on Dad's gyro-stabilized swivel chair, using his Windows XP desktop to play solitaire while watching warm spring rain shower down the office window panes and stream off the neighbor's corrugated aluminum-framed house in humid rivulets that pooled on the ground and flowed into gutters. Dad's office helped me focus, but still I was procrastinating over a 2,000-word essay for English about Ophelia and Hamlet that I didn't want to write. I typed a couple of rambling paragraphs on the library's immaculate EMAC computers during my spare block before Infotech class on Friday, and emailed the file to myself, but the thought of actually finishing the project seemed remote. More importantly, the Dungeons and Dragon players were coming over for another Will Spicer run weekend session in a couple hours. Aristotle, the tabby, was stretched out behind me on the carpet, absorbing radiation from the space heater on the bottom shelf of Dad's bookcase. I could tell I was going to lose the solitaire game, and since nobody was here, I was thinking about giving up and going upstairs to check on the Emule client patiently downloading its bootleg files, games, movies, and porno. Amongst these treasures, gradually materializing over the house's cable internet, was the Jenna Hayes, Aria Giovanni lesbian video I'd been trying to find for months. There was only one seeder, a single source, probably some freak out in Siberia kicking back on hardware from a corporate computer farm licensed by the CIA. So I was distracted, and Nicole Jeffrey really startled me when she knocked on the double-pane window above Dad's brown chipboard and carbon IKEA desk. Nicole's bird-like black-dyed hair bobbed into view beneath a waterproof hood. "Doors open!" I shouted as she rapped her knuckles against the glass. Nicole darted around to the study's sliding glass door. When she'd matriculated to Ivory Porter High, Nicole had started on the emo die, and she'd kept going with that for the next 4 years. When she'd gotten the braces, she'd gravitated into gothdom. Anyway, I knew she was really a blonde with an overbite, but half a decade of dye and orthodontic care had turned her hair blacker than coal, just as her mouth had been filled with metal. Aristotle curled his spine and started mewling, recognizing Nicole as she heaved open the sliding door. Nicole play-acted, deliberately crouching so she could taunt the cat as he patted and then scratched at her shoes, fighting wet laces. Nicole took off her raincoat and shook it outside over the patio tiles. She was about to march down the hallway to the front entrance, but I motioned that it was okay, so she slid off her shoes and placed them together on the welcome mat parallel the sliding door. Nicole hooked her jacket onto Dad's coat rack, covering the aluminum branches, which also held a white office umbrella from Dad's real estate firm. Nicole was wearing an old NASA t-shirt, red and blue logo fading. She shook water driblets from her hair and intentionally splattered them towards me with the tips of her fingers, but the back of Dad's chair protected my neck. She leaned over and picked up Aristotle, cradling him in a maternal embrace and scratching him behind the ears. "You're early," I said. "Well," Nicole snuggled Aristotle's stomach, "I was thinking about stopping to get smokes and a hot dog from 7-Eleven, but it's raining too much out there." "Do they ever ID you?" I asked. "For the hot dogs." "The guy at the counter is one of David's HUU frat boy buddies. He commutes here, if you can believe it, and knows who I am." "Too bad we can't pull that at the liquor store." "David always buys me drinks," Nicole answered, standing broodingly at the window with Aristotle still in her hands. "Yeah, I guess he would. I hadn't seen David Whitby since we'd gone skiing back in January." Nicole gazed out over the concrete patio to the lawn's rain-soaked Kentucky bluegrass and the new shoots growing on the hedges, green tips straining towards the torrential afternoon sky. I looked back at the computer and minimized the solitaire window, opening up an Internet Explorer browser so I could read the Wikipedia summary of Hamlet. The cat was purring and curling his camouflaged tabby tail around Nicole's arms. She let Aristotle go and slumped down on the couch behind me, laying down horizontally and adjusting the waist of her jean shorts while dangling a leg over the upholstery. "What are you doing?" Nicole asked. "Debating booting up Dad's old copy of Spaceward Ho and playing a game of Galactic Conquest, or trying to do some legit work on the English paper before Monday," I admitted. "So," Nicole purred inquisitorially, "you haven't drafted the Hamlet paper yet?" "I am not finished the Ophelia essay yet, no." "What, you finished already?" "Years ago," Nicole was blowing on her fingernails. "How?" "You have got to learn yourself some organizational skills, Jono." She scowled. looking up at the stucco ceiling and coiling an index finger around a strand of chaos black emo hair, distracted. She was thinking about something. Nicole put her elbow against the armrest upholstery of Mom's velvet couch and shifted her weight to a pillow, like a Roman, sitting up sideways. I wrote the whole thing during lunch on Wednesday. Like what, in half an hour? 1,500 words, actually, she said, studying her nails again. Less than 30 words a minute. I can't motivate myself like that. That's because you're a slacker, Fulbright. I mobilized the swivel chair and rotated around so I was staring at her. I liked Nicole Jeffrey. Her prettiness and pretentiousness, hardcore, and smarter than me, I thought. I scratched my neck when it itched because I was wearing a new Gary Gygax shirt. Where are your parents? Nicole asked, changing the subject. Not here, I explained. Dinner with Sis. Yeah, and how's she doing? Did she fail college yet? Venice is going to graduate, like next year, I said. She's doing a joint humanities English major. Cool, said Nicole, fidgeting with the thin silver dolphin at the apex of her necklace. Why do you ask? My brother is a frat boy and going nowhere, Nicole paused. I'm dating a frat boy and my life is going nowhere. Don't remind me, Nicole. David Whitby? I shook my head. Anyway, we're getting out of this soon enough. Venice is what, 21? She's 22. Nicole got a distant look on her pale face. I guess the whole 18 and an adult thing is kind of bogus. Yeah, tell me what you really think. Anything is better than more high school. I'm going to C-Tech, didn't I tell you? For real, what, computer science? Yeah, but that's later. This summer is going to be great. Just don't think about all the fall. Act like it doesn't exist. Live in the moment, I agreed. Must be the money. Think we'll find the Lich King today? She asked. No way, I laughed. Will's going to drag this shit out for another month at least. Guns. Lots of guns, she said. I'm hungry, I said. You want some pizza pops? Sure, said Nicole. And something to drink. Yes, my lord. I got up and went to the kitchen, grabbing 2 frozen and plastic-wrapped Pillsbury pastries from the freezer and loading them into the microwave, firing it, then poured 2 party cups worth of sugary store-bought iced tea Mom had left in the refrigerator. Pinching the cups with my fingers and with the plate of microwaved pizza pops in my other hand, I headed back to Dad's study. Nicole was sitting in the swivel chair, looking over my paper. I brought her the hot plate and set it down. Nicole burnt her tongue when she greedily bit into the microwave pastry, but then ate it anyway, getting cheese on her salient chin. I waited for the mini pizza to cool down a bit and then chowed down, holding the gooey tomato sauce and pepperoni sandwich gingerly. I washed it down with the iced tea. This intro is shit. Nicole was speaking through her blood angel's red lips while chewing. Don't worry about it. The assignment is stupid. You know, she started, scrolling down to my unwritten conclusion. Hamlet is the real villain in the play, right? Because he's such a crazy dick, I asked. Just like David Whitby? Nicole gave me a mean look, but didn't disagree. Basically, yes, she mumbled. But more importantly, because the ghost is probably Satan. Anyway, David Whitby is a frat boy, but he's not Satan, Jonathan. I hadn't thought about that. Nicole's blue eyes narrowed, and she put an arm provocatively behind her ruffled hair, resting, massaging her soccer goalie neck muscles. Want me to write your paper for you? She wasn't really asking, like it was inevitable. You would? I'll do it if you pay me. That sounds like cheating, I said. Come on, Fulbright. Nicole rolled her eyes. I can write it in 20 minutes. Nobody is going to know, but I'm not going to do it for free. I gestured to the empty pizza pop plate and iced teas. Yeah, okay, she said. Maybe just read what I wrote and add anything you like, I said, carrying the empty pizza plate back to the kitchen. You probably shouldn't leave me alone with your dad's computer. Oh, I trust you, Jeffrey, I shouted back as I was walking down the hallway. I wasn't about to let efficient Nicole keep needling me over the stupid English paper, so after I put the plate in the dishwasher, I hustled back to the studio to see what damage she'd done. If these guys want to play D&D, they'd better hurry up, I said, checking the analog wall clock beside Dad's Black Company poster, which said it was 3:38 in the afternoon. Maybe we should just cancel, do it tomorrow. Sunday? Nicole tissed me. Why not? I have practiced twice a week, Fulbright, and play tournament games. There's no time for just shifting the schedule. She continued typing on Dad's ergonomic lung-shaped keyboard, stopping for a moment to adjust the swivel chair's height, its piston emitting a little burst of pressure when she lowered it. I'm going to do this whole thing for you before they even get here. Watch. This really isn't that difficult, Fulbright. Oh, you're so smart, Nicole. I mean, she continued, fingers flying across the keys. All you do is play video games and jerk off, right? Yeah, pretty much, I shrugged. Not technically true, and she know it. But I am the one hosting this role-playing session. See, that's your problem right there. Nicole's fingers clattered all too quickly. Too much time to think about how you're screwing up, always second guessing yourself. Is that why you weren't at Rachel's birthday? I asked, too focused. I wasn't there because practice. Same reason you weren't at the Three Mockingjays show, I noted. Same reason you weren't at Rachel's party. Who sounds obsessed now, Nicole? I never said that, Nicole scowled at me. I was with David fucking Whitby. Definitely fucking. Nicole stopped typing and crossed her arms over her chest. You're one to talk, Fulbright, but just FYI, I was also there because I don't like that Matt Pello Samantha Paulette brand of prog rock. There, I said it. Huh, I said, considering this. Nicole looked around the room, seeming to relax a little. She stretched her hands, opening and closing palms, and put her fingers back to starting positions on the QWERTY keyboard. But hey, she said, you do provide a rare service. How come we never play at your house? I whispered, but I suspected the answer. Never gonna happen. It's Fulbright or bust. She scanned Dad's bookshelves. Your dad is such a nerd, Jono. Yes, it's true, I agreed. He's nothing compared to Philip Whitby, though. Yeah, I guess so. Nicole went back to hammering on the keyboard. I just let her go at it until she got tired and mechanically slowed to a stop a few minutes later. All right, here, check what I wrote. Sure, I said as Nicole got out of the chair. She retrieved the yellow-backed Watchman omnibus from where it was inserted between Ghost in the Shell and Dad's extensive Bloom County and Dilbert collections. You know the fat ass at the beginning of Titanic is wearing a Watchman shirt, I said as I sat down and readjusted the swivel's height. Nicole once again reclined on Mum's couch like a feline lizard. Didn't see Titanic. Really? I was actually surprised. I thought every chick on planet Earth saw it. You thought wrong, Jono, oh my brother. Has every guy on Earth seen the Transformers movie? Nope, I admitted sheepishly. Nicole held the Watchman omnibus open like a magazine as her eyes swept across the Alan Moore script, devouring graphic art and glancing at me suspiciously as she turned a page. The only thing my dad collects is money, she muttered. Comics would be more like Mom's kick. Nicole's distant expression refocused and she squirmed a little to improve comfort. I read over the essay file. Nicole's argument was that Hamlet screwed over Ophelia because he was so obsessed with irrational revenge. Nicole thought Hamlet was punishing Ophelia by proxy for what his mother had done, which she said was like an Oedipal complex. I moved the Windows cursor compulsively around the screen and checked MSN chat. I had two chat windows going, one where I was chatting with Rachel Whitby, the other a pre-game D&D group discussion with Will Spicer, Ken Payton, Hamid Nasrallah, and Nicole Jeffrey. And besides her, they were all in various stages, of course, of being late. Ultimately, Will had the D&D 3rd edition manuals and character sheets, and since he was the dungeon master, nothing was happening until he got here. I opened the Rachel chat window and sent her a smiley face. She must have been at the computer at the shoe store because she instantly messaged back with an emoticon. You have fun last night? I asked. Only think with your dick, Fulbright. I'm bored. Nicole's reading Watchmen, I typed. She should have come mini-golfing. Said she was with your brother. I knew it. I could visualize Rachel laughing. What did he say? I typed. By the way, why doesn't Jessica like me? She does. Rachel, who seemed distracted, going by the erratic timing of her responses, typed back quickly. Has stupid superiority complex. It's not real, though. Too stuck up for you. I loved Rachel Whitby. Don't let it bother you, Jono, she kept typing, then changed the subject. I want to watch The Ring next time. Too scary, Whitby, I responded. Plus, we should watch Contact with Jodie Foster and Matt McConaughey next. You should come by tonight. There's more cake at home, she replied. Units won't let me open real presents till later. They bought me a Newtonian telescope. Cool, I typed, thinking back to New Year's, to the Whitby obsession with the stars. Did you cheat? Sneak around for gifts? Of course, typed Rachel. Hard to miss a Newtonian refractor, Jono. I listened as Nicole's fingers turned comic book pages behind me. You playing D&D? Rachel asked. I typed back yes, and Rachel typed back that we were nerds. GTG, she typed, which meant she was already gone because she must have had to do some store work, like answer the phone or deal with customers. I turned around so I could talk to Nicole. Rachel says hi. Oh, Nicole leaned her head back on the couch's pillow and put the comic face down on her chest. She thinks we're nerds. I already know that, Jono, remember? Nicole shook her head. But she's one to talk. Doesn't she own King Arthur and the Knights of Justice on DVD and rewatch it religiously? Yeah, I smiled to myself, but my parents make me watch Gone with the Wind every Christmas, so a kid's cartoon is pretty tame in comparison. Nicole stared at me. Let's never speak of this again, I said. Speaking of dorks, Nicole licked her lips, are you interested in Necromunda? Maybe I am, I pondered, but I never played it. I'll message Spicer. I used Dad's triple-click Microsoft optical mouse to open my private chat window with Will and added a line about the Warhammer 40,000 microgame. I hadn't painted any models in months, but summer was coming, though. Good time to get back into the hobby. Will's icon was dark and said he was offline, which he bloody well should have been because he was late and was hopefully in a car somewhere on his way. Would I need to build an army? I asked. You could probably just use your AD&D and Mordheim units, Nicole said. Or I'll just loan you my Blood Bowl team. I don't give a shit what they look like, if they're orcs or Skaven or whatever. She went back to reading Watchmen. I opened another webpage and clicked on the bookmark to Pelu forum, where Matt had a subsection for tabletop stuff. I started writing a quick post about Games Workshop games. Maybe Xavier or Hamid would be interested, since I knew they hobbied. Shouldn't you be checking my edits? Nicole was observing me. Maybe I just typed garbage. Yeah, I said. I was reading, but this is so boring. I mean, Hamlet is a tool. What more do they want? I'm doing you a favor, Jono. She deliberately closed Watchmen, setting it down on the lamp table, and swung her besocked feet off the couch. I swiveled around in the office chair, hovering above the computer cables running out from behind the desk. You know... Know what? She asked. We're probably wasting our time. Should I call Will? Nicole ran fingers through her hair and pursed her ruby lips. Well, at least theoretically they're on their way, I said, typing another message to Will's AFK MSN chat window. I'm too sober for this, Nicole announced. I'm going to sleep if they don't get here in the next 10 minutes. Yeah, suits me, I said, watching as she reached down her legs with one hand to reflexively pull up her knee-high black socks. You're going to get molested when they show up, though. Yeah, you'd know all about that. What's that supposed to mean? I wasn't really paying attention since I was scrolling Piloform for the epic thread Spicer had linked me about the sick Xbox Resident Evil remake I hadn't played yet. I'm a senior high school senior girl with soccer connections, Nicole was rambling. I know things. I've never molested anyone. You know, people can see when you're all over Emily Newman, right? Hitting on her in class. Nicole's eyes were still closed. When you're supposed to be sleeping with Rachel Whitby. Not just supposed to be. I was being defensive. You know Rachel was over here last night. Nicole didn't say anything. Do you guys gossip about this when you're at practice? I like Emily, but I'm not dating her. I respect Emily more than you do. Nicole's voice was a warning, but she looked like she was napping. She's not somebody you want to mess with. Mess with? Keep your dick in your pants, Fulbright. And you're a dyke, I said, losing my temper. Sometimes you're such an asshole. Nicole opened her eyes, genuinely upset. She sat up and swallowed. I'm sorry, I said, pawns open. Don't be a twat, Fulbright, Nicole spat. Do you really want to be yet another high school loser who can't control his bitch testicles? It's really none of your business, I said, imploring Nicole to drop it. Just forget it. She blew air between her lips and rolled her eyes. I'm the best friend you ever had. You're my favorite dolphin, Nicole, which was true. She looked a little less upset. Here, I'll show you something cool, Fulbright. Maybe you can thank me later. What have you got? I asked. Nicole flicked her fingers at me. Move aside. She didn't wait and hauled the chair away, and I let my butt swivel. She stood at Dad's computer and pulled the keyboard towards her. Nicole typed a URL into the browser window. I stopped the chairs rolling with some pressure from my feet and watched the backlighting coming through the sliding door as raindrops pattered down. Check this out. What am I looking at? I asked. This is a Java application that rips all the image files from server folders. The website header said this was the handiwork of the DOS hacker. What's it for? Think, Fulbright. I'm too stupid to think, remember? Don't placate me, Nicole snapped. Just get to the point, Nicole. I'm easily bored. There are all kinds of hidden image databases this can access, and suddenly I realized what she was getting at. Can you do the Penthouse website? Let's see, she said, typing the URL for penthouse.com into the Java program's minimal interface and clicking enter. The page drew up a blank. 404 error, not found. Needs to be more specific, I think, said Nicole. Pick a porn star. Try Belladonna, I said, the first name that sprung to mind. Nicole typed in the name, and I couldn't help noticing she knew how to spell it. Amazingly, the program did its job, bypassing the password interface, and loaded an image table, about 100 images deep, of buxom, tattooed, 22-year-old Belladonna strutting around naked in various expensive condominium interiors. Holy shit, I said, my eyes widening. She does have enormous tits, Jono, Nicole said as she was scrolling through the image list. However, Nicole continued, giving me a sly sideways grin, do you know this traditional TNA porn is obsolete, right? How so? I asked, scratching behind an ear as Nicole scrolled through the seemingly endless thumbnails. The future is alt porn, she explained. That 90s dried up glamour girl stuff is passé. You really should check out Suicide Girls if you want to jerk off in the ADSL age. I felt compelled to change the subject. How did you find this page? Girls look at porn too, you know. Nicole gave me a disappointed look. No, I mean, where did you find it? I stared at her skeptically. She'd probably gotten this from David Whitby. Secret page on Matt's forum, Nicole admitted. Oh, what secret page? I was surprised. The hidden porno one, Jonathan. I suddenly felt immensely left out. I realized my mouth was open and closed it. Who's this DOS hacker anyway? I asked, although my brain was already formulating possibilities. Nicole clicked over back to the main page, a simple .html website that looked like it had been created circa 1996. And don't know, Jono. No information for obvious reasons. And MSN me that link, please, I begged, and Nicole copied the URL and brought up my MSN interface. She snickered. What? I asked. You sure I shouldn't send this to Rachel instead? Nicole teased me. Don't you fucking do it, I said, trying to grab the mouse away from her. She's at work. Relax, Jono, Nicole giggled. I'm sure your golden girl watches porn too. Big, stiff penis stuff, no doubt. Anyway, isn't honesty the foundation of a healthy relationship? Maybe we're not ready to share pornography tastes yet, Nicole, I said, realizing how stupid this sounded only after I'd said it. Nicole pasted the URL into my MSN chat window, thankfully not Rachel's. Remember, she stuck out her tongue, I could have sent this to anyone on your list. The D&D group say, embarrassing you and possibly destroying your reputation. But I didn't. You're a saint, Nicole, I said breathlessly. I really am, she said. I mean, didn't I just give you the secret to free porn and write your essay for you? For a pizza pop? I'm sorry I called you a lesbian earlier. Good! Nicole put her arms behind her neck in a triumphant pose. I checked my phone, but there was nothing from the D&D gang. Here, she said, since we're screwing around anyway, let me show you something else. What, more porn? No! Go to the halo.bungie.org homepage, she said, sliding her arm around the back of Dad's chair. I thought you were tired of Halo. I am, she said, stretching, but there's this one vid you've got to see. Halo jump? I asked. No, not Randall Glass, not Dan Chosich, nor Vector 40, none of that Bayside Land shit. St. Patrick's Day was last weekend, I said. Are you still drunk? Too sober, but this is worth it, trust me. Since this was Dad's computer, I closed the URL on the DOS Hacker tab and opened another window to the Bungie.org fan site where Nicole directed me to the video section. The 18 megabyte QuickTime file she wanted me to download was from last summer, one I hadn't seen before. We twiddled our thumbs while it downloaded for a couple minutes over the office's cable network. The video opened ominous and black, playing Marty O'Donnell's Halo theme, and then did a composite zoom-in on the western United States of Maryland. There were these two guys under a post-production grayscale wireframe filter, apparently standing in a park. The first guy was wearing an inverted black and white orange neon shirt, Batman sunglasses, and jeans. The second guy was shorter, dumb grin on his face, wearing a backwards baseball cap. He only said his name, which sounded like Terrible One. Greetings, Halo junkies! Insomnia here, said the Gen X guy with the audacious sunglasses. And welcome to the first game of High Speed Highway Halo. What? I asked, flickering my eyes over to Nicole. Just watch. She was grinning so much her braces were showing. These 4 or 5 dudes and a couple of chicks, one wearing skin-tight metallic blue leather and the other operating a VHS recorder, were rigging up their cars, one black hatchback, a blue 4-door truck, and a chase car, to play LAN Xbox. Can we go over the safety briefing? Asked the camera girl while they were parked in a suburban cul-de-sac. Cars here, said Insomnia, illustrating this with his hands held out flat, palms down. Good. Cars here? He moved his hands apart. Bad. After getting everything prepped and checking equipment like they were about to land the space shuttle, Insomnia handed cables to a white guy yuppie, and they loaded up their convoy cars and cruised down what Insomnia said was a Maryland street until they arrived at a highway on-ramp. The vehicles accelerated onto the freeway, and the camera cut back to lunatic sunglasses man Insomnia, thrilled in a passenger seat in the hatchback. We're going to pull up alongside John, and Mike is going to hand me the cable, and I'll just slide it to him. Insomnia shouted until the audio cut out as the windows rolled down, and at-speed air was rushing into the back seat. All the while, Insomnia, with his sunglasses reflecting back, was smiling like this was the most normal thing in the world. Hoobastank blared on the track. I was mesmerized, watching as Terrible One leaned out of the truck's windows and handed off the cable to Insomnia while the yuppie guy drove, reflectively checking the distance between his truck and the hatchback with a quick shoulder check. Terrible One was holding the cable between his teeth like a pirate. The camera zoomed in on the odometer, reading 70 miles per hour. In-game, they jumped into combat-evolved vehicles and started fucking each other up. The video cut to the Xbox capture of the Halo game footage as they played, barreling down the highway. This is insane, I said, the camera girl filming as the two teams made peace signs at each other from their real-life vehicle windows and drove into the sunset. I know, right? The video ended with Insomnia and Terrible One standing in the field narrating. For High Speed Highway Halo, this is Insomnia, Terrible One. See ya! The camera zoomed out, then turned into satellite images of North America until the whole Earth was visible, receding like it was filmed from the moon. Those guys are metal, Nicole said with reverence. What if the cops stop them? They probably are the cops. Nicole had on a wolfish grin from ear to ear. You know, Halo was originally a third-person shooter, Nicole. Duh, she stuck out her tongue. What's your favorite third-person game? I asked, curious. She put her left hand on her chin in a contemplative way. American McGee's Alice, she said after a bit. Oh, nice, I said, surprised. Wouldn't have thought of that. I'm the smart one, numbnuts. The only nuts you've got are David Whitby's. Did you play Oni? It was all right, Nicole shrugged. Didn't feel finished, though. Yeah, I agreed. How about Max Payne? Good one, she said. Matrix mod with unlimited bullet time, right? What about you? GTA 3, I suggested. I thought the original was the best, she said, eyes wandering around the room. You know Rachel liked the second one? Really? I don't know. My phone beeped. Uh-oh, said Nicole. I bet it's Rachel calling. She must have sensed we were talking about her. I checked my cell. There was a message from Ken. Nope, I said. Peyton. Oh, Christ. Nicole's eyes rolled up to her waterproof mascaraed lashes. He's probably copping out. I read the text message, which was from Ken's phone, but actually was Hamid Nasrallah because they were on their way, but Kendrick was driving. Nothing about the whereabouts of Will. Go back to sleep, I said, showing her the text message. Ken's driving with Hamid. No, screw that. Let's do something. She was shaking herself. If they're actually coming, I need to warm up. Want to play Mario Kart? Yes. I saved my plagiarized Hamlet essay, and Nicole followed me into the living room, where I claimed Dad's recliner with a 32-inch HD TV positioned not more than 6 feet in front of the TV. Nicole perched on the living room couch. I took out my cell and sent a quick message to Ken, telling them to hurry up, but also that I still didn't know where Will was either. So I spammed Spicer with text messages some more, wasting the dimes. Phone back in my pocket, I got up and booted the N64 on the TV shelf, switching out the Star Fox cartridge for Mario Kart 64 and picking up 2 controllers, one for Nicole. I unrolled mine and then sat back down into the leather ottoman and grabbed the TV remote from the table to turn on the TV. Mario appeared in his Technicolor dune buggy, racing around a 2.5D loop, chased by Yoshi, Princess Toadstool, and Bowser, while optimistic, low-resolution MIDI music played. I picked 150cc, the fastest setting. Play the Flower Cup, Nicole commanded, leaning back to plug in her controller. I selected Yoshi, and Nicole grabbed Peach. It had been well known that Toad, Yoshi, and Princess Peach possessed the fastest carts. Mario and Luigi were also decent picks. Nicole fidgeted as the race started. The cloud Nimbus guy appeared above the starting line, holding the go, no-go lights on his fishing rod. Red, red, yellow, green. I depressed A at each light and jump-started, hammering the gas as my Yoshi cart ripped down the Nightmare Turnpike, passing cars and carts as I navigated up to first place with ease. Nicole quickly closed the gap, and within a few seconds was on my tail. I plowed over a floating, semi-transparent, oscillating pickup square, which started the random caged weapon generator, displayed like the F-16 HUD in Falcon 4.0. The randomly generated item resolved into a string of 3 orbiting green shells. I pressed down on the controller's trigger, and the shells deployed around the cart in a protective pattern like the moons of Jupiter. I raced across the starting line and clicked into the second lap. Donkey Kong, the 8th place player, squeezed trepidatiously into his comically small cart, vanished behind me as I lapped him. Beyond Donkey Kong was another fat ass. It looked like Wario, and I closed up behind him like I was on the tail of a MiG-24. That mean yellow bastard was a little more trouble, and before I could lap him, he activated a mushroom pickup and blasted away from me like he just lit his afterburners. I dodged an oncoming highway truck and kept the pedal down. As Wario's power-up faded, he slowed down, and soon I was right behind him, waiting for my moment to strike. Wario laughed his devilish laugh and stepped on the gas. He was sliding away, and I snuck back into the left-hand lane as we blitzed past a raceway merger, more cars oncoming, complicating the course. I really wanted to lap this 7th-place son of a bitch, but he was swerving from side to side, not giving me a clear shot. Wario looked scared, though, shaking and glancing over his shoulders. I realized he had a banana peel in his evil Italian hand. With a foot on the accelerator and an eye in the mirror, he hurled the lethal banana at me, but I swerved around it. Yoshi's ultralight easily picking up the lost speed as I geared up, flames shooting dramatically from the cart's 150cc engine. Wario drifted lazily into my line of fire, and I pulled the trigger. A green shell fired from the hip. With a burst of cartoon stars and indecipherable cursing, Wario tumbled behind me, and I zapped down the roadway, expanding my lead. I took a quick peek at Nicole's screen. Wario was spinning behind the princess as she closed the gap. There was a long, clear stretch up ahead, just before a pixelated tunnel entrance. A string of levitating pickups hovered above the track just a mile distant. I could see Bowser and Mario jockeying for position and clearing out the pickups, but one was a fake because when Bowser's cart hit it at 70 miles per hour, it exploded. Bowser screamed his bestial turtle scream as Peach and I blazed past him, grabbing the last of the pickups before the full set could respawn. The tunnel was just ahead, dark but inviting, with minimal traffic, a perfect opportunity to put Nicole out of the race. My pickup counter rolled down to a selection, and I saw in a flash that it was a star, a once-in-a-lifetime shot. Somehow, even lapping these bot players, the game hadn't been able to completely nerf my pickups. Nicole was looking at my screen. "Don't do it, Fulbright," she warned. "Do what?" I replied innocently. Nicole's weapon counter rolled down, and I saw she was holding a red shell. Nicole curved Princess Peach past an oncoming car, lining up a clear shot with me in her sights. "Forget it, Jeffrey," I said. She cursed. I looked at the lap counter, the blur of events having compressed time, and suddenly I realized the race was almost over. The minimap showed the end of the tunnel up ahead, and a big turn, and then the end. I activated the star. The world around me turned in a blinding chromatic flash, the MIDI music ramping up as Yoshi's cart transitioned from fast to invincible. Nicole blasted me futilely with her red shell, pure desperation, as I blew through the finish line at more than 100 miles per hour, nitro flames shooting from the cart as I cruised into my first place win. Immense satisfaction washed over me as I leaned back in Dad's chair as the game calculated my measure of victory. Peach crossed the finish line a full 5 seconds later, followed by Toad almost 20 seconds from the deciding moment. Nicole calmly put down the controller and rubbed her eyes. "Smash Bros," she said. I laughed. "Just not good enough, Nicole." Such bullshit. She dramatically stood up, walked over to the N64, and flicked the reset. "I'll beat you this time, but I'm playing Yoshi." "Okay, deal," I said, with track. "Do star this time," Nicole compromised. The doorbell rang just as I was about to hit start. "That's got to be them," I said. "Just your luck." Nicole shook her frazzled raven hair. I carefully put down the controller, which I'd been clutching with sweaty palms, fingers white-knuckle tight. "Well," said Nicole, "you and me and Will makes 3. "Can you let them in?" I asked, getting up because I'd have to start clearing the dining room table. "Can you? What?" She shot back. "It's your house. With great power comes great responsibility." "Oh, whatever, Nicole," I said, and walked back to the front entrance as the doorbell rang again 4 or 5 times in sequence. "Yes, thank you," I shouted and swung open the door. "What's up?" screamed Kendrick Payton, entering lavishly, followed closely by Hamid Nasrallah, who grabbed my hand and then pulled me close, patting my back. I could smell his aftershave cologne. Hamid was wearing cut-off jeans and a long-sleeved plaid polo shirt, feet comfortably in a pair of white Oxfords. Hip. Ken was wearing a polyester snowboarding coat and white and gold Ivory Porter football team jersey with a pair of preppy brown slacks. He kicked off his sneakers. "Sorry we're late," Ken said, pounding my fist. "Really?" I asked. I could see his Ford Taurus parked in the driveway. "Not really," he smiled. Hamid put his hands between Ken and me and pushed us apart, like he was Moses parting the Red Sea. "Hi, Nicole," Ken shouted. "Peyton," Nicole shouted back. "About time." "Yeah, where's Spicer?" "Guess." Figures." Hamid put his hands on his hips. "What's happening, Jono?" he asked, smiling, his coffee skin glistening under my parents' living room lights as he took off his shoes. "Dying of boredom," I said. "Played Valhalla with Pilu, Allmayer, and Wright." "Yes, yes," Hamid nodded sagely, his penetrating eyes studying me, commiserating. "And how was the show?" "Oh, that," I said, thinking back to the Jacinto Community Center bash. "Yeah, Pello and Paulette were dope," I said, nodding. "Ryan's rap metal was cool." "Wild." Hamid took me by an arm around my shoulder. "Allmayer and the Mockingjays." We walked and talked into the living room. "What did Rachel do for her birthday?" "Mini golf," I said. Hamid looked impressed. "So," he said, releasing me and clapping his hands together, "are we playing or what?" "Will is late again," Nicole said monosyllabically. "Will is always late, my dear Nicole," Hamid added, "and half of this silly game is setting up." "Typical," Ken was saying. "Do you kids realize how badly in demand my time is?" Hamid pursed his lips, and his eyebrows nudged up as I followed him into the living room. Behind me, Ken repositioned his baseball cap, using his fingers like tweezers to pull at his shirt, distracted. The risks I take to my credibility as an elite high school senior and jock, representative of the student council and of the graduating class of 2003. Wow, Peyton, you're such a martyr, said Nicole. Yet he wasn't at the Three Mockingjays show either, I added. I'll have you note, we just defeated our despised opponents at McCovey Secondary yesterday, Ken said, reaching over me to give Hamid a high five, and I spent nearly 3 hours working out today. Legs, he said, showing off his calves as if they were for sale. All that, and I drafted my English paper. Well ahead of schedule, I might add. Nicole laughed. Yeah, I'm still working on that, I admitted. Can you pathetic nerds even comprehend the effort, the organizational talent that is required to survive in my life? Humble and wise, Hamid winked. Oh, and this morning, while I was having protein-infused vector granola, I was on the phone with Kimberly Dean, our beloved student body president, planning out the intricate details of the graduation event, to which you will all gratefully attend in not much more than 2 months' time. Yes, said Nicole. And can I suck your dick, please? You wish you could be so lucky, Ken finished, stomping into the living room to go after Nicole, who was in fact setting up Smash Brothers on the N64. So all this work, this Herculean effort, only so that I can arrive at a retarded Dungeons and Dragons event to which the fucking Dungeon Master is late? The cat started meowing at Ken. And the fuck does he want? Ken demanded. I shrugged, walking over to Aristotle and picking him up. Why don't you just start drinking? I suggested, rubbing Aristotle's belly before he nipped at my fingers and I had to let him go. Now, said Kendrick patiently, smiled and relaxed. That is a proposal I can get behind. He looked over the TV with the Smash Bros. Logo swirling around and turned back to Nicole. Perfect dark? He asked. Fulbright doesn't have it, Nicole said. A GoldenEye, then. Ken fired back without breaking a beat. Deal, said Nicole. They fought over seating, but Nicole was quicker at getting into Dad's recliner. She thrust out an arm, fingers extended, pointing to my collection of Nintendo cartridges. Ken sighed and leaned over, looking through the game titles. Where's GoldenEye, Jono? He asked. Right there, old man, I said, walking over and picking it out of the game rack, handing the gray plastic cassette to Ken. He tapped the cartridge against his chin and then crouched at the TV shelf to change out games. Hamid checked his analog wristwatch. Jono, he said, let's talk. Yeah, sure, dude, I said, pressing my hands into the pockets of my sweatpants and following Hamid into the kitchen. Make popcorn, Nicole shouted from the living room. Yes, master, I shouted back, impersonating Igor. In the kitchen, I faced Hamid. All right, what do you want anyway? Secret Fulbright liquor stash, Hamid whispered like he was talking through me. I was not quite straight. Oh, 1 second, I said, because I was retrieving a bag of popcorn kernels from the cupboard, which I then poured into Mum's Black & Decker popcorn maker, setting the timer. Follow me. We walked through the kitchen hallway and down the short linoleum-covered fake tile stairs that led to the garage. I unlocked the garage door and flipped on the lights. Inside, I walked over to where Dad kept his matching sets of golf clubs, past the flats of cat food stacked against the wall and beside Mum's recycled plastic water jugs. Hamid stepped down onto the cement gingerly like his leg hurt. Can you close the door? I asked. What, are you coming out? Can we please delay the inevitable gay jokes until at least after we start drinking? That was pretty passive-aggressive, Hamid said, shaking his head as he lightly closed the garage hallway door behind him. Your parents gone? They're partying with my sister. I don't see why we shouldn't get to party too, I said. That makes sense, he said, grinning so that his pencil-thin mustache curled up and his teeth showed. Did you guys really beat McCovey? I asked, shuffling around the golf bags. Hamid laughed. No, he said. Actually, we lost, but it was close and Ken's right. We should have won. What happened? The score was 24-21. I think I bruised my knee, too. This huge guy plowed into me while I was receiving for Sean Wood. True story. He shrugged. Ultimately, it's turning into a farce. These McCovey assholes are a bunch of overrated tryhards. It's like they think they're going to be doing this for their whole lives. Too much skin in the game for my tastes. I'm going places. Helmet or no helmet. Maybe some of them will be. Aren't you guys going for scholarships? Yeah, but I'm not holding my breath on a sports one, Jono. Hamid ran his broad fingers through his tussle of light brown hair. What about Peyton? I don't think he really gives a shit anymore, Hamid laughed. Matter of fact, neither do I. There's too much bullshit on that team. Dazed and confused? More like fear and loathing, he admitted. They're all rich, fucked up on drugs, in denial. Damn, I said. Gone in 60 seconds. That reminds me, he looked over his shoulder like he was telling me a secret. Yusuf bought the car. Oh, sweet, I nodded sagely. So you're mobile for the summer. You got that right, Fulbright. I was just talking to Nicole about that. What? Asked Hamid. Cars? No, drama and end of year high school bullshit. I'm sick of it. He folded his bulky arms. They pretend like the team spirit matters, like there's some profound life lesson in catching balls. I watched him. Wait, he said, suddenly introspective. I sound like a cliche. Oh, yeah? Look, I know half of the guys on that team won't be playing the game at the college level. After we graduate, most guys will probably never play again. Maybe 2% will go onto scholarships, and of that, 0.001% might make it pro. Hoop dreams, baby. Basketball diaries, Hamid said scornfully. So is everyone on this team addicted to heroin or something? I asked. Cocaine, ecstasy, dope. Not you or Ken, though, right? Right, Hamid nodded. That's more of an Andrew Robinson thing. Fuck that guy, I said. Well, said Hamid, I'm just tired of the hypocrisy. At least you're getting exercise, I guess. I turned back to my golf bags. However, Hamid continued, using his student council voice, it's not like they ever forced us to participate. All we had to do was play, if we wanted. No hazing, nothing to rebel against, nothing to acquiesce to either. The cliques that I'm supposed to worry about, economic, sexual, racial, never really existed. I mean, geographical ones, maybe. He stroked his mustache, deep in thought. You know, Hamid, I don't really agree with that. I started, moving aside the golf clubs and uncovering the toolbox. Think about what Ken was just saying about nerds. And all those girls have their cliques, even Nicole. Don't you think we're in a clique? Maybe clique is too strong a word for it, said Hamid. It's more like a bunch of networks. There are hard lines, though, man. You can't have girls playing football, right? That's true, he admitted. But I don't think it's because they're not capable. I think the admin is just scared of having girls upset the status quo. It's not a locker room problem, I asked. Not even remotely. They have their own lockers already. I doubt any girls really want to play football, though. I mean, Cascadian football. You'd be surprised, Hamid raised his bushy eyebrows. Not everyone wants to be a cheerleader. Just look at Nicole, I agreed. Emily Newman. Case in point. But what if they wanted to play with the guys, right? The administration would say, no way. They'd say women's football isn't offered, which is code for please don't ruin this for the guys, for the coaches. Like, please don't play multiple sports, I added. Exactly, said Hamid. The last thing they want is people deviating between athletic niches. I hate to be the only non-athlete guy to say this, but I'm kind of worried about Peyton now. Oh, yeah? I mean, imagine the psychological stress of not knowing that there's no pressure. I shook my head as I located the nail kept beside the toolbox and inserted it into the lock, unlocking it. Everyone is still trying to fit in to a stereotype that doesn't really exist anymore. That's my point. Hamid took a deep breath. The boundaries are dissolving, and some people, maybe not you or me or Ken or Nicole, but some people don't even know it. You're doing what, college, sociology? Hopefully psych in the fall, he said. Already heard back? Not yet, but it really all depends on the money anyway. What about you? I applied to USV, Anthony Eden. You'll get something, Hamid assured me. Don't worry about it. I'm not worried, I said. What about Peyton? Ken already got an unconditional acceptance letter from Cascadia Tech, mechanical engineering or something. Thought his parents wanted law school. He'll transfer out, but C-Tech gave him a scholarship if he plays for their shit team. He won't do it for more than a year, though, I guarantee you. What then, I asked. His dad'll pay his way into Harvard Law or Stanford, don't you think? Yeah, probably, I agreed. Nicole got into C-Tech too, comp sci, she said. It's not a bad school. Hamid put his hands in his pockets. But most of those motherfuckers transfer out when they realize they're only getting high school 2.0, not the full college experience. I'll die before they send me to a technical school, I said. All good things, he said. How's your knee? Hamid bent his leg, wincing. That's exactly why we need to hit this liquor, Jono. Pronto! Your popcorn is probably popping. I nodded, opening the rusty multi-deck toolbox that had been hidden beneath Dad's golf bags, the box's nickel magnesium springs snapping open to reveal the top set of old tools. Push eject, I said. Well, that's it? Asked Hamid. Watch. I leaned over and grabbed onto the handle in the middle of the toolbox, pulling it up and extruding the entire tool set, which then swung aside, revealing the emblazoned caps of liquor bottles in the cavity below. God bless Venice Fulbright. Hamid blew a low whistle. Just half the problem, half the solution, I continued. Older sisters know how to crush your dreams. Believe me, Hamid cackled, not nearly as bad as younger brothers. All right, so what do you want? I surveyed the toolbox's contents. What was in here before the liquor bottles? Hamid was bemused. Nothing, I said, grinning at him. It was filled with the golf balls Dad collected. What did you do with the balls? I put them into the golf club travel case, which Dad never uses. Hamid pointed a callous finger at the Captain Jack spiced rum. I palmed the half-empty bottle and handed it to Hamid. Does your dad ever look in the box? He asked, studying the shaped, unopened bottle one-handed. Hidden in plain sight, I said. The last place he'd ever look. If he went solo golfing and collected a bunch of balls for some reason, I'd be worried, but he doesn't even use this stuff anymore. His titanium clubs are in the car. I gestured to the other assorted sporting implements in the garage. Red kayak, baseball bats, camping gear. Clever. Are you going to miss the team? I checked and saw I had about half a bottle of tequila left. You're the one who missed out, Jono, Hamid answered. Highlight of the year was actually beating those Redford secondary bastards back in December, and it started snowing. Coach almost had a heart attack. You're supposed to be above fake rivalries, remember? I am now, Hamid leaned in on me. That's the point. It mattered then. It doesn't matter now. My life is full to the brim with memorable experiences. My philosophy is work now, retire early. He chuckled to himself, something hidden, meant only for those who were there that day, cold but victorious. What is it about these Redford guys? I asked, the name etched into my skull. Too much money and not enough balls, he said. Ego-inflated white guys think they're the shit because their grandparents bought Hawker Heights property in the 70s when it was cheap, when there was nothing here. Hamid unscrewed the rum and took a swig. Maybe they've got bigger dicks and bigger wallets, but we've got bigger brains and bigger souls, man, Hamid was saying. I'd rather earn my keep than live knowing it was assigned. I pushed the tools back in place and closed the box, returning the golf bags to their original position. We headed back to the kitchen. Nicole was pouring popcorn into a big crystal bowl. What took you so long? Nicole asked. Hamid waved the bottle of rum at her. She diligently inspected a handful of popcorn to make sure it was hull-less before shoveling it into her mouth. I opened the cupboard and took down glasses, setting them out. Hamid slid the rum across the kitchen counter. What do you guys want for mixers? I asked. Pepsi, shouted Ken from the living room. Ditto, said Hamid. Whatever, mumbled Nicole, spitting a popcorn kernel into the sink and using a finger to clear bits from between her braces. That's disgusting, Nicole. Hamid looked horrified. Eat me! Nicole shoveled another handful of popcorn into her face. I opened the fridge and pulled out a 2-liter bottle of cola, cracking the seal and filling 4 glasses with Pepsi and rum, stashing the rum bottle in the cereal drawer. I took a sip of the strong mix. Now this is more like it, said Hamid, gulping and burping. He went to grab the popcorn bowl from Nicole, trying to curl it around his arm like he was receiving a football, but Nicole punched him away like she was in goal and collected her drink. With Ken's drink in my other hand, I followed him back to the living room. Well, I'm finally here, Will said 15 minutes later when I opened the front door for him. Did you guys know Narnia is a real place? He was wearing a navy blue turtleneck and pewter-colored cargo pants and shouldering a heavy-looking red waterproof backpack. Back in the living room, Nicole glanced up from the game of GoldenEye she'd just won. You are late as fuck, Will, she said, giving Spicer a penetrating look with her hazel dagger eyes. I was here like 3 hours ago. Even Ken and Hamid got here before you. We did, said Hamid, sipping rum and Pepsi. Will took off his backpack and dropped it in front of Nicole. Yeah, well, said Will, age before beauty, I guess. Dude, Ken moaned, can we get this nerd game over with? Will extracted the D&D manuals from his backpack, walked over to the dining room table, and slammed the books down. Are you people sober enough to play? The fuck are you on about, Spicer? Ken demanded. Spicer, Hamid intoned. Did you read the latest Maddox? Yeah, sure did, Will said. The one about Iraq? Exactly, Hamid laughed. Hilarious. That guy hates Bush so much, Will agreed, spreading our character sheets around the dining room table. The fuck, Will, repeated Ken Payton. Ken's not up to speed on Iraq, Hamid laughed, patting Payton on the back. You mean the non-existent anti-war movement? Ken said sarcastically. There were some at the Mockingjay show, I told him. Those kids from Kingsmill Middle School had a billboard saying, bomb Bush, not Iraq. Huh, Ken thought about this. Catchy, but I'd substitute fuck for bomb. Nicole wrapped up the N64 controller and clicked off the TV. Everyone sat down at the long oak table. I was beside Hamid, and Will took his place at the head of the table with his back to the bookshelves with my dad's complete collection of Charles Dickens novels and Mom's well-thumbed cooking books and Renaissance painters' references. Ken sat down in the seat beside Nicole. The Americans are doomed, Will was saying, refusing to let the invasion of Iraq go. Afghanistan beat the Romans, he snarked. Russians, Hamid said. Yeah, whatever, said Will. The point is, starting another war against Iraq while they're still in Afghanistan is retarded. No argument here, Nicole said, hands up. Will you people shut the fuck up? Ken complained. He gestured to the D20 dice, character sheets, and rules books laid out around the table. I'm just glad Doris Russell didn't suck Bush's dick, Hamid gossiped. Doris Russell can suck my balls, Ken interjected. She didn't want to help in Afghanistan either, Hamid added. But even Canada went in there. If we didn't send troops to Afghanistan, then Emily Newman might have shot up the Capitol buildings. Nicole laughed. I think that was so funny, so I scowled at her. It's all just a game, Nicole said. The Americans are going to lose it. Yeah, well, said Will, Maddox agrees with you. That's what I'm saying. Well, good for him. Nicole crossed her arms and spat a popcorn husk from her mouth. I looked concerned in Nicole's direction. Can we start this game, please? Ken begged, actually exasperated. We'll need more popcorn, Will said, chewing, emptying the last of the crystal bowl. You should have gotten here an hour ago, Nicole shot back. I'll make some. I volunteer, I said, and grandly picked up the bowl and turned for the kitchen. So diplomatic. Nicole was shaking her head. John-O, said Hamid. Can I get a refill? He jingled his empty glass. Sure, I said. Anyone else? I checked the reactions of Nicole, Will, and Ken. Nicole shook her head, drunk enough. Ken nodded at me. Orange juice, said Will. Okay, then. I walked back into the kitchen holding the empty glasses in one hand, using my fingers to pinch them together, popcorn bowl held under my other arm. I started up the popcorn maker, then took the rum from the cereal drawer and made some more drinks. I poured Will his orange juice, so I had 4. Carrying the drinks back to the dining room, I handed them out and sat down opposite Nicole, leaning back on one of Mum's wood and velvet back dining room chairs. So, Necromunda, Nicole was asking Will. I was playing in an epic 40k tournament, he said, not looking up from the notes in front of him. Nerd, said Ken. Yeah, I get it, Kendrick, thanks. Check the Palu Forum board game page. Will shrugged, pushing his titanium glasses up his short nose. Okay, so, Spicer took a long breath, starting at last. If you recall, Ulrich was about to enter the crypt of the Lich King, but Natalia, Dritz Duorn, and Vespasian were still outside. Ulrich used the luminescent map to uncover the cellar in the southern nave of the cathedral tower that he knew would lead to the lair of the Lich King. Ulrich had climbed into the tower with a grappling hook thrown through one of the stained glass windows. Natalia was at the main entrance, lock-picking the oak double doors, and when they swung open, the adventurers quickly caught up with Ulrich in the ancient tower atrium. He used the crystal key to open the trap door, revealing the spiral staircase that would lead into the crypt. The cobweb-covered stone stairs were totally black. Good thing the cleric Dritz Dorn had brought the forever torch from the ogre cave, which he lit with a fleck of flint and waved into the stone porticos below them. Vespasian nodded solemnly at Natalia and brandished the gem-encrusted hilt of his arcane bastard sword. Magical light enveloped them as the adventurers descended into the darkness beyond.